what we just had the number one player taken in the draft in volleyball. Congratulations to them and to her. Just saw her walking through the hallway, so pretty cool. Even though they're still playing their season, so unique, but nonetheless, congratulations. Obviously, this is what college football is all about. I'm sure you guys will revert back and maybe ask some questions on last week, but I think when you kind of get to this week, that it's hard to talk about anything else. And I've said it since the day I came here. I've grown up this way. Like, what makes college football special is rivalries. And I know the new age of college football and some of the stuff that's gone on the last 4 years, whether it's expansions and leagues changing and growing, and it's still the thing that makes this game in college in particular so special is when you have these rivalry games. And the great thing about it is you throw out everything, right? I think they're best one at the end of the season because all records go aside. Whatever postseason looks like for different people, it goes aside, and it comes down to, a respect of a rivalry. And I reminded our guys of that yesterday as we wrapped up and finished up from the weekend and enjoyed what it is that happened last weekend, but also tried to move them on to make sure they understood that the number one most important thing is in a rivalry is respect. And all the things that we've done in the offseason make sure that our guys understand that. And the respect starts with how you prepare and how you go about your business, not just about the way you play. So it's exciting, and that's like I said, that's what this week's all about, and we'll get rolling on it. We brought it up after the game on Saturday, but I wanted the guys to enjoy, the Saturday night. Not that it was very long because it was a later night, but I wanted to make sure they woke up the next morning and understand that what's in front of us, and it's all about getting that axe.
Luke, for senior day, we saw Joe Brunner out there. Obviously, I guess we'll see what happens with his future. But in terms of what have you seen from him this year? It seems like he's obviously kind of a dominant type personality. But what has he been like kind of behind closed doors?
Well, he's been one of those, kind of the rock behind a lot of the things that's going on. And we also have seen the ups and downs. But when we talk about what's going on inside that locker room, Joe's been a rock. And for that, I have the utmost respect for him. He had actually asked me earlier in the week about being able to walk with his buddies. He said, "It doesn't mean anything, Coach. I haven't made anything. I let it go." I said, "If that's what you want to do and you want to be able to walk with a lot of the guys that obviously you live with and your buddies, then we'll go about that. We won't read into it. We'll move forward because we respect you. You've meant an incredible amount to us and our program, our team, and this year in particular."
Luke, I know you're a Big Ten guy. Played in the Big Ten, been an assistant there. Know the rivalry weeks, but when you came to Wisconsin, is there anything that you've learned about this rivalry since coming here that maybe you didn't know when you first got here?
Well, I mean, yeah, you study it, you recognize where the balance is, and it's incredibly close, but I think more than anything, it's just understanding and respecting what rivalries really are, and it's embracing them. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you have hey, I don't know all the history. I didn't grow up watching. The idea of being a traditionalist, the idea of being from the Big Ten in a lot of ways, it's understanding and respecting what rivalries are all about. It's about the guys that come before you. It's about the guys that will come after you, and that's what I mean. Like I tell our guys that it starts with respect, and it's respect for the game. It's respect for your opponent, but it's also respect for traditions. And so to me, early on, the most important thing that I want to reiterate for myself and to our team is you have to embrace that. Right? I don't care. Yes, it's been a unique season, and it's been a lot of tough things for us, but that doesn't matter. And it wouldn't matter based on what happened last week. It wouldn't matter based on what happened two or 3 weeks ago. At the end of the year, you're going to have this. We've prepared for it. We've talked about it. I say that with what we prepared for with another rivalry game. Some people would ask, well, you prepared, you did all these different things for the rivalry game, and look what, guys, what it comes down to is none of that stuff matters once the foot hits the ball, right? All the different hype and the speeches and the former players talking, to me, what it really comes down to is respect, and respect to the way you prepare, but then ultimately this respect in the way that you play the game and how you represent us and our program.
Coach, Coach, I know you weren't here for his entire journey, but for Aaron Witt to be able to walk out on senior day and just get to that point, what do you think it meant to him and the program in general?
Well, I'm sure you could ask him. One thing I try not to do is speak for guys, but there's nobody that, I don't know the whole history, right, because I wasn't here for the whole time, but I do know enough to know that nothing means more to that to him than obviously this place, what this place has done for him, what this place has done sticking with him and getting him healthy, and not just physically, but in a lot of different ways, and believing and trusting in him. And that's not just me. I think that's this entire program. I think it's the guys inside that locker room. And he come out. He's the one guy that comes out and just looks you in the eye and says, I'm just going to give you a handshake. And I'm like, no. I'm gonna give you a hug too, buddy. I appreciate you. Know that more than anything. I love you. I don't know if he'd say that back. It's just not Aaron Witt, but I know deep down inside, there's nothing that means more, and I respect that more than anything else.
Talked about Friday night or Saturday night about the receivers. It being a tough year for them just because of the passing game. Vinny falls in that category, yet he seems to be same old Vinny, handling it well. Can you speak to that a little bit, just his attitude?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, like they are deep rooted, and I say Vinny in particular. They are deep rooted in what we preach, and I'm not saying I'm surprised, but it's been impressive because it is difficult. It's frustrating at times for me, right? I mean, and I never caught a pass. Well, I should say that in high school I caught passes, pop pass and tight end, but that's beside the point. I know how difficult it can be, and to not even sometimes maybe think you have as many of the chances and opportunities. Because let's be honest, like the wide receiver position sometimes is very difficult to coach and really difficult to justify, right? I mean, you're open and you don't get the ball. You don't get many opportunities or shots down the field. Like there's a lot of different things that just have to happen. But him being the leader of that room and how he's went about his business, this is not press conference talk of any sorts. Like he is more mature than I know I would have been at that age. And I can't say enough about how he's been able to handle this. I actually wasn't kidding you when I called him up in the office this past week and just wanted to sit down with him before, we got to senior day and before we got to the end of the season and just make sure he understood how much I appreciate not just his play, but how he really has gone about handling all the different things that we've, gone through offensively this year, and in particular at the quarterback position. And so it meant even a little bit more to see him, score a touchdown in that last game at home. But I know that even for him, that wasn't what it was all about. It was all about being able to finish. It's all about winning, and it's all about doing what's best for the people around him. And again, that is something that I will never forget.
Luke Fickell's quarterback's your first quarterback you're going to see in a month or so. That's not a primary rushing threat for his offense. Does that change how you rush the passer? Because it's been such a strong suit lately. Do you have to change?
No, I think what those guys up front have done, and I tie it to the whole, the coaching, but also their ability to play was, you always kind of put into perspective and rank where the guy is as a scramble guy and a guy to keep the ball alive, and it does kind of change up some of the way that which you rush. And our guys have done a phenomenal job the last few weeks with, handling those guys. I don't want to think it's much different. Sometimes when a guy doesn't have as much of a true big play ability to run or haven't seen that, sometimes guys lose their discipline. And I think that all in all, what it comes down to is, I think where we've been as successful as anything in the last couple of weeks defensively is playing very, very disciplined football. And a lot of that in the past 2 weeks has had to do with how you rush the quarterback. So regardless of where his supposed skill set is or where his escape ability or where his rush ability is, what it's going to come down to is our ability to be disciplined in what we're doing, because pretty much anybody that plays quarterback in this league has the ability to create and make some plays. Whether they've had to do it or not, he hasn't had to maybe as much. But that poses some different issues for us as well.
Steve.
Just with one game left in the regular season, what have you kind of learned this year that y'all need to do moving forward within the offseason?
Well, I don't think we have a couple hours.
Has it changed in the last few weeks based on the way y'all played the last few games?
No, I mean, I hope that some of you maybe are just getting a chance to, see what we felt, just over the last few weeks of just seeing some of the positives. Internally you felt like, man, there's some things that are growing. You don't always get a chance to see them on Saturdays, and sometimes the struggles outweigh some of the things that you actually visually can see, especially on Saturdays. And so I don't know that anything has changed. I know that, that's not what we're focused on right now, but when it's all said and done, we got to take a deep dive into things that we need to be able to do. We've talked about some of the traditional things of how to continue to build a program and how to continue to build a team. And so those are some things that we know we're going to make some adjustments and changes to. But I think at this point right now, nothing changes. I think these are some of the things that, us as a coaching staff have seen from within. Just some of the growth, some of the leadership that is a little bit more evident, obviously, when you win. But I think those are things that we felt like, okay, we're on a path that's going to take us in the right place. But we know as January hits, there's a lot of things that we're going to still have to continue to adapt and adjust and change with.
John. If you win on Saturday, you're a 5-17 with good academics. Given the, first of all, would you accept a 5-7, or if you're at 5-7?
Look, we would never turn down a game, whether that's to play in a parking lot, whether that's to play wherever. Like, the truth of the matter. But what's most important is just saying, hey, all those kinds of things, they're just cloud your mind. Like, this is about one thing. It's about a rivalry. It's about an axe. It's about a history. And if by chance something happens after that, then we will be able to address that. But for right now, it's like, guys, don't worry about anything like that. Don't worry about what comes Sunday. Like, this is all about 5 days left of, being able to, this is the last guaranteed opportunities we have to be together, and let's make sure we do things the right way.
Kind of following up off that.
To me to cut you off on that, but.
But, last year where you have a team drop out, do you do anything differently, to be prepared for that, or are you not even thinking about that?
Not thinking about it. It's one game at a time right here, and that's what it's all about. And obviously you would, handle situations that you ever need to handle. I think, like I said, some of the growth of things that we're doing, I feel like we're in a really good place, but we got to continue to grow.
Cool. And then Nick.
Have we seen that big nickel package over the last few weeks with, Tommy and then Christian Allegro? Just what does that do for your defense in terms of variety, or just kind of changing the look for an offense, getting another bigger linebacker out there?
Some of it just has to do with making sure we can get the guys on the field we need to get on the field. Some of it has to do with what things and people are doing. But nonetheless, I think the more guys we can play, the better off we're going to be. And when it comes down to it, when you're better in the second half, when you're better in the fourth quarter, because guys, maybe don't have to play every snap, I think that it makes us a better team. So there's some differences, whether you call it big nickel, whether you just call it base people out there. I think the thing that we've been able to see is there are some young guys, there is some growth that, like I keep telling you, that we have seen from within, whether it's Tommy Heiberger or even an opportunity to put Christian out there a little bit, just with where he is with his health. I think it helps us as a whole. I think it helps us, whether it's schematically, does it help us? I think more than anything, it helps us get more guys on the field. It gives us a better opportunity as we get to the second half, and in particular the fourth quarters, to be able to play better.
Luke, obviously you've had 3 years with Rico Holman, 5 years here. Just how has he been so important, not just with some of the highs like All-American a couple of years ago, but really a kind of a foundational leader on that back end?
He is, and that's another position that, like, you talk about the wide receiver position, sometimes it's difficult. Another position in particular can be the field corner. It's just, you don't notice him a whole lot until there's a play to be made, where there's a ball thrown down the field. And so his consistency is where I would say is, what I respect the most. I know there's been some ups and downs, and him, like anybody, closer to me than what Vinny has done in some ways, of being able to handle the lack of maybe opportunities to being bored. Like those are things that he has grown from the time from the last 3 years. And I think the unique thing is I think this last game and this last opportunity, he's going to be challenged, I think, a lot more. And so I think for him is motivating. But nonetheless, his consistency, his ability, it's hard to say him without Daryl Peterson, because those guys are like kind of side by side. But I think what they've also done is been able to feed off of each other, and whether one, is frustrated with, whether the way they're playing or the lack of production of some sorts, their respect for each other, respect for the locker room, the team, has kept them and kept us where we are.
Luke, at the end of last season, you guys made some changes defensively to some of the things you were doing in terms of bodies, philosophy, a little bit. One, has that worked out how you thought it was going to work out? And then two, I don't know if there have been any pleasant surprises with that, or
Again, a lot of those things just came down to how do we get our best players on the field and put them in positions where they can be successful, which in turn makes us successful. And some of that was taking Daryl Peterson, asking him to play a little bit different and not make him technically an outside backer or a field side Sam backer, and put him down into the boundary and ask him to get a little bit bigger and play a little bit different. And I think that's something that has helped us, but has also helped him. But it's not the scheme that has helped us as much as it is the people. And so what DP has done in particular, what Ben Barton has done, and saying, hey, Ben, get big. You're going to play a nose guard position that, I hope you only have to play 30, 35 snaps a game, as opposed to last year at the end of the year. He was playing all 55, 60 snaps in a game. And so to help us, to help him, to give him a chance even to play at the next level, I would take a step back to say it's as much schematic as it is getting the people on the field, putting them in a position where they can be successful. And you've seen, Daryl Peterson, his discipline and the things he's done is, given us a chance to be a lot better defensively, and given him a chance in particular in the last few weeks to be very, very, very productive. So I think, again, I'm not a guy that gets into, hey, it's this scheme that makes everything great. It's the players, and for some of us, it's getting them in the right positions.
I know we're talking about a lot of pass rush for y'all, but Minnesota leads the Big Ten in sacks. I know a lot of them come in about 3 games or so, but have you had a chance to dissect what makes them tick and what's...
I don't know that I had known that just yet. I haven't gotten to that side of the ball as soon yet. Haven't seen them as much on some of the crossover stuff. But I would tell you, just even from last year, and they're relentless. They play very hard. They're going to challenge you in all ways. It's not like they're going to give you free access throws, but they'll allow their guys up front to play and play fast. They've got good size, and they're physical, and I think that's what shows up.
Riley.
Coach, over the past few years, you've been asked a lot about this team's identity. Now, over the past few weeks, with some more on-field success, do you think this team has found or realized its identity? And if so, what is it?
Identity is playing together as a team. Identity is hopefully understanding what complementary ball looks like. But, that can be defined in a lot of different ways. I think that, do we really know who we are? In some ways, but offensively, it's been hard, right? It's been hard to pinpoint an identity because, like we just talked about, you guys ask about scheme defensively, and we've played, better defensively down the stretch here. But I would tell you, it's not about scheme. It's not like, hey, we identified what this scheme should be, and now we're playing better. No, it's getting players in positions where, they can be successful, which in return makes us successful. And so the greatest identity that we can have is putting guys in positions where they can be successful. And in a lot of ways, like we said, in order to throw the ball down the field, we've got to do a better job. That's something I want to do. That's something we want to do. That's something we want to be able to create. I think we started the season off with that idea to be able to do it, but it hasn't been something that's been a strong suit for us. And so to say we found an identity to what we do offensively or what exactly we do defensively, I think the idea is the identity of what leadership looks like, what complementary football looks like, and what some explosive plays can do for you too.
Zach.
Do you have any kind of an update on Mason Posa?
Nothing to this date.
Colton.
He looked good after the game.
Luke, when you get this close to the finish line for the recruiting season and the early signing date, how much is your assistant's time kind of divided? You obviously have a huge game Saturday, but you've got to secure those guys next Wednesday.
I think it's always a balance within the season, right? There's always been a balance since they did the early signing period that you've got to be able to balance those things. You've got to be able to handle it, especially as you get towards the end of the season. I think there is a uniqueness this year, maybe even more so than any time in the past. Not that the early signing date's that much different, But I just think that, as you get to the end of the season, we've had more official visits here the last few weeks, which even can extend into, Sunday, Monday, or Monday, Tuesday visits, because, guys, the seasons are over and ending. And I just think with the volatility of the game, or the landscape of college football, you are seeing some more of that. So it has been a little bit tougher in the balance, but the challenge to the coaches is, hey, now we're not taking away from what's most important right here. And everything's important, but what's most important is this rivalry week, this game. It's finishing this thing and making sure that we have the utmost respect for the way that we prepare and the opportunities and the options that we give, in particular to our senior guys.
John? Big picture, to win 2 of your last 3 after losing 6 straight, where do you feel like you've seen the biggest growth or the biggest improvement from this team?
We talk about resiliency and persistence. I've never been to a season like this, and it's been difficult on all of us. But I also can't imagine that it could go. I'd say it's good, but the locker room could be where it is with everything that we've gone through. Whether that's talking about Vinny and some of the wide receivers and Tretch and what they've had to kind of go through with the ups and downs of the quarterback and the different quarterbacks, and maybe trying to take the offense in different directions, to losing guys defensively, to Nizier. I mean, just all the different things, and so it's been very difficult. But what I can say is, there's been a consistency, there's been a development in leadership that I'm not sure I would have seen. And I'm not sure we would have seen it as much if we, hadn't had as much adversity. And so one of the things I think we, and obviously it falls on me, have struggled with as much as anything in the last 3 years is leadership, I think, from within. And we've gotten as good a leadership from within this year than we have any years past.